Hey everybody, Modern Day James here, and we've reached the end of another challenge. Before we get started with the critique portion of the video, I just want to announce a few things. So first of all, I've been posting a lot to my music Instagram, which you can follow at Modern Day James Music on Instagram. And there I'll be posting a lot of videos that sound like this. So if that piques your interest at all, be sure to follow that page. In addition to that, I'll be doing another sale on my Gumroad channel. For the next week, you can get 10% off all of my videos when you use the code CHALLENGE. This will apply to all of the videos, including bundles. So be sure to get those videos before the discount is over. I'll also be starting another semester of my mentorship in October. If you'd like to sign up, you can head to brainstormschool.com, click the Mentorships tab, and then head to my Foundation Mentorship. There you'll find all the information you'll need for signing up and about the class. And if you'd like an additional resource for learning, you can use today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, art, and more. Premium membership gives you unlimited access so you can join the classes and communities that are just right for you and your goals. Whether you want to fuel your curiosity, creativity, or even career, Skillshare is the perfect place to keep you learning in 2019. I'm personally enjoying Marco Bucci's Understanding and Painting the Head series. If you enjoy the videos he puts out here on YouTube, then you'll love the tutorials he has on Skillshare. Skillshare is also super affordable. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. You'll receive a 2-month free trial when you sign up using the link in the description below. So join the more than 7 million creators already learning with Skillshare. So let's get started first by looking at Sam Armstrong. Sam, thank you so much for submitting your work. Let's talk about what we can improve here. I think what you would benefit from is studying a bit more of the anatomy underlying this, underlying the hands and feet, because for me it's a little bit hard to distinguish in certain areas. For example, you get to the back of the hand and there's no indication of any of the tendons from the knuckles that are underlying this, right? Sometimes you want to distinguish between those knuckles and elements like the hypothenar eminence over there in the back, and the dorsal interosseous muscle. Now I'm just outlining these, but you know, there's different ways of drawing all of these different forms. And if you're aware of them, you can use that to articulate and indicate them. If you have a look at some of the hands that I've drawn, you can see that I'm indicating the difference between the bony areas and the muscular areas, as well as articulating some of these tendinous areas as well. So if you study that anatomy, you can use that to your advantage. I know there's a lot of subtle forms and a lot going on, and you can certainly exclude a lot of that information, but you still want to distinguish these shapes. Right here you see I'm accentuating the triangularity of the knuckle and how flat the back of the hand is. And using this shape distinction makes it really obvious to the viewer that they're different forms. So now having a look back at what you have here, you can see we're missing a little bit of that, right? We're not really seeing the knuckles, the dorsal interosseous muscle. You are distinguishing between the wrist here, but just like I brought up in that Bridgman video that I put out recently, you want some overlapping of forms, right? Have those lines go inside the silhouette. There's tendons, I forget the name of the muscle, which is probably bad as an instructor, but there's some tendons that go down here towards the thumb. And sometimes that, you know, using that that line work and following the underlying anatomy allows you to have line work that feels more realistic. In addition to that, I want you to push those shapes a little bit more, right? If you take a look at the back of this hand, it all just kind of blends together as one flat shape, but maybe you could push the knuckle so that it emerges out and overlap it with those tendons on the back of the hand. Right? Use some distinction in shape to make the hand appear more interesting. And don't be afraid to indicate some of these underlying forms. If the muscle is bunching up, right, this dorsal interosseous is going to bunch up if the thumb is pressed in. Allow that to happen by using some value. In addition to that, going back to shapes, look how you flatten out a lot of the curves, or is it, you know, ideally you want to push those curves more. Right, and the overlap So I think the big takeaway here is don't flatten out your shapes and try to exaggerate the differences, and remember to indicate your overlapping forms. So for example, we have that bottom pad on the bottom of the foot, and the pinky toe is actually coming from above it. So you want those lines to overlap, right? Having overlapping line work shows that one form is in front of the other. Otherwise, it looks like there's not a lot of function, and you deprive the body of a lot of its function. All right, next up is Lori. Lori, thank you so much for submitting your work. What I want to address here is the lack of form that I'm seeing, right? To me, I think the way you're drawing is you're kind of finding the outer contours, and you're trying to base the drawing just on the outer silhouette. But one of the mistakes that you can come into with that is that, one, the shape is going to change depending on the angle, and two, it deprives it of a lot of function by not showing the interior forms. So my suggestion would be to look up, look at the Bridgman text and see the way that the body articulates in terms of forms. Let me just sketch that over one of these images for a second. So for example, you have the tarsal bones that go into the center, and the malleolus or the ankle bones are going around it. So already you want to have some of that, we're showing that overlap. Right? And you don't have to do it as pronounced, the forms as pronounced as Bridgman, but it's a great text for understanding what's going on underneath. Right? There's this distinction between the ankle bone and the calcaneal tendon, or the Achilles tendon here in the back. And then the toes and tendons themselves can be articulated as well. So what I want you to do is, again, go to that Bridgman text, have a look at the underlying forms, and try to implement that into your sketch as well. Because when we get to a foot like this one, for example, we can't see any of this contour. It's hard for the viewer to see, is this a rounded form? Is it a flat plane? Or is it an even more complex form like the foot? So definitely look at the Bridgman text and try to study those underlying forms. And just like in the last critique, be sure not to flatten out those curves, right? You see how straight these lines are? You're losing a lot of the nuance and elegance of the forms and of the shapes that are really nice to look at. And when you flatten them out, you kind of kill it a little bit. If anything, you kind of want to err on the side of exaggerating the curves more than understating them. Right? Because it's more interesting to see something that's taken to the extreme than something that's flattened out. All right, next up is Jovi. Jovi, I picked yours because I thought what you were trying to do here was super ambitious, and it came out really good. The only thing I want to see a little bit more of is just finding some more concrete shapes, right? I struggled to see any edges in the brushwork, and I think you really want to keep in mind that you want to build up a balance of hard, soft, and lost edges. Right now, it seems like all of your edges are just in the soft range, and I think you should find areas where you can get some hard edges to them. But other than that, the color palette seems really good. Your values look really nice. If you look at a really amazing painter like Zorn, you can see that there's a lot of very clear, articulate shapes and edges. All right. As I mentioned in the video I have on edges, it's really common in digital painting to err on the side of making soft edges, but look at some of the old masters, see the shapes that they make, and try to implement them into your own work as well. All right, these very clear shapes are really nice to look at. Yeah, there's certain areas like here in the fur And those have a ton of soft edges, but it's contrasted really well by all the hard edges in the face. Alright Jovi, thank you so much. And now there's nothing left to do but to announce our victor. Drum roll please. The winner of this challenge is everybody who hit 200 hands and feet. There were just so many to choose from that I really couldn't make up my mind, so I just decided anybody who hit the mark was going to get the year 1 bundle pack. So guys, thank you so much for contributing to this challenge, and I really look forward to your submissions for the next one. And before we forget, the next challenge is going to be 75 material paintings. If you've been watching the live streams, you'll know that I already got started on this. So if you want to join in on the challenge, you can do so by heading to our Discord server. The link is down below. And anytime you post one of these challenges to your social media, be sure to tag it mdjchallenge. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed that, please click like and subscribe, and consider supporting the channel on Patreon. We have a lot of really cool options, from discounts on future Gumroads to group lessons, so be sure to check that out if you're interested. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care.